A short 1 hour flight later, we landed in Cambodia. Where we got through passport control and then collected our bags. We then got a Cambodian SIM card and jumped in a taxi to our hotel. Made it! Woo! Where this time we have to get used to 2 different currencies because in Cambodia they use US dollars and also Cambodian riel. Arriving at our pretty swanky hotel, we were greeted with welcome drinks and shown to our room. We then headed out to explore the local night market and pub street. This is also where Em bought a skirt for our upcoming temple visits. We then popped into 7-Eleven, our home away from home, and then got some dinner.
Today is a day I've been so excited for, horse riding. We started the day nice and early so it wasn't too hot and began our walk to the horse ranch. Where we met our horses, learnt their names and hopped on. We set off for our 2-hour ride around local villages and rice fields.
Hello!
After an hour, we stopped off to let the horses cool down and have a break. Then it was time to ride back through more local villages. When we got back, we watched the horses be showered off and then explored their stables. After a very hot and sweaty walk back, we jumped in the pool. And then headed out for a yummy dinner. Today began at 4 a.m. as we're heading off for a sunrise at Angkor Wat.
Our guide, Sam, picked us up, then we went to get our tickets. With our tickets purchased, we then headed to Angkor Wat in the pitch black. We then settled down and secured our place for sunrise. Angkor Wat is the largest religious monument in the world and covers over 400 acres of land. It was built almost 900 years ago and took 35 years to complete. It's estimated that 300,000 people and over 6,000 elephants were used to complete this structure. The stone blocks used to complete the temple were mined from a quarry over 65 kilometres away. It's believed that a combination of elephants and bamboo rafts down the Siem Reap river brought them to their position today. This temple was originally constructed and dedicated to the Hindu god Vishnu, but towards the end of the 12th century it was converted to a Buddhist temple and remains a Buddhist temple today. Our anchor guide, Sam, knew so much about the temple complex and answered every single one of the thousands of questions I shot at him. Following a few hours of exploring Angkor Wat, we jumped back in the car and headed to our next temple, Ta Prohm, also known as the Jungle Temple. A common theme around all the temples is the internationally assisted restoration work. Angkor Wat and Ta Prohm are both being assisted in restoration work by the Indian government. In the process of restoring, if they estimate that they're going to use more than 30% new stones, they won't continue with the project, which is a great rule in ensuring that the temples are built of as much as the original material as possible. As we approached the intersections of Ta Prohm, we learned why it got its nickname, the Jungle Temple. The trees that are spreading their roots across this temple are estimated to be 400 years old. As it approached midday and the heat started to increase, we were picked up by our guide and then dropped back to our hotel to avoid the midday heat. The cold face towels was such a bonus. After a quick nap, we were picked up and headed out again. This time to Bayon Temple. The carvings around the outside of this temple are fascinating and show not only how the temple was built, but also what their lives were like 900 years ago. The carvings show cockfighting, boar fighting, and even how they cooked dinner. Then it's time to meander around more of the temple and absorb some of Sam's endless facts. Then it was time to head to Angkor Thom, and not even 2 seconds in, I was already getting robbed for my water. Where's my water? After a fascinating walk around this ancient temple, we were again picked up in our air-conditioned car with cold face towels and brought back to our hotel, where we said goodbye to Sam and then headed out for dinner. Today, we hire a bike and explore the town. First, we pick up my drone from the repair shop. Then head out for another dinner at Nick's restaurant, where our $4.50 deal gets you a burger, side and a drink. Bargain. Then we head for a night of entertainment at Fair Circus. Starting with some shows from local school kids. And then it's on to the main event, and it did not disappoint. Today is a touristy day. Time to head to the War Museum. The War Museum hosts loads of ex-military kit, and it was so cool to see the size of some of these huge machines. Then it was on to Apapo, a company that uses rats to detect landmines. Similar to Laos, and also because of the Vietnam War, Cambodia has tons of unexploded bombs in its countryside. At Apapo, they use giant African pouched rats. And not because they are disposable, with no rats dying in the last 9 years, but because they are lightweight, they don't set off the landmines, and they have an excellent sense of smell to detect the TNT. After a quick demonstration, we're allowed to hold them at the end, and they're surprisingly cute. Then we headed off to a mini golf course, which features loads of mini replicas of all the famous Angkor temples.
Oh, nice.
And of course, I absolutely thrashed them. Then we headed out for dinner at Nick's once again. Following a morning chilling by the pool, we headed to Angkor Wildlife and Aquarium. And we picked the perfect day for it as it started chucking it down when we arrived. The amount of animals here was insane and it only cost us £17 each. I saw so many fish that I'd never seen before in my entire life. Plus, an awesome reptile house that was definitely my favourite part. Then it was time to leave and we headed back to town for a foot massage to finish off today. Today is a travel day as we say goodbye to Siem Reap and head on a 6-hour bus journey to Phnom Penh, the capital of Cambodia. Arriving in Phnom Penh, we jumped in a tuk-tuk and headed to our accommodation. We then checked into our room and discovered that it had a hidden feature. We had a bathroom, pretty normal, a balcony, Pretty normal. And also a steam room. Not so normal. We then headed out for a quick dinner to finish off the day. Today, we spend the morning in the gym and by the pool. And in the evening, head out to Aeon Mall for a bit of shopping and food.
Then on the top floor, we found an arcade, which Tom was very happy about. When we got back, Tom decided to go in the steam room, which made the power cut. After realising it was just our room with the power cut, we headed down to reception and got told that we'd have to move rooms for the night and an electrician would be in the morning. So, over we went. Today started by the pool, playing a bit of pool, and then a session in the gym. Then we headed back to the room to get ready, as we're off out for a day of exploring. First stop, the Russian market. Then we headed on to the S21 Museum.
S21, or Security Office 21, served as the central hub of a vast prison system by the Khmer Rouge regime. The Khmer Rouge were a radical communist movement that ruled Cambodia from 1975 to 1979. A former high school, this detention centre was repurposed to hold the maximum amount of prisoners in horrific conditions. S21 was used as a secret facility for the interrogation, torture and extermination of those deemed political enemies. And S21 is only one out of 189 other facilities like this around Cambodia. Out of the 20,000 people that passed through this detention centre, only 12 are known to have survived. After finishing our audio tour and absorbing some of what we just learned, we headed out to explore more of the city.
We hopped in a tuk-tuk to head to Basak Street for some dinner. And the best ice cream I've ever had in my life.
On our way back, we stumbled across a bar with quite a funky entrance.
Today started with catching a tan by the pool, a session in the gym, as always, and then we headed off to Central Market. But that was a bit of a fail, as when we got there, it had already closed. So we headed for a curry instead. After demolishing that delicious curry, we took a stroll down the river to see a bit more of the city. Today is a travel day as we head to Koh Rong Island. To start the journey is a quick tuk-tuk to the bus station. Then a 4-hour minivan to the ferry port. Arriving at the ferry port, we collected our tickets and hopped on a 1-hour boat to Koh Rong. One very choppy boat ride later, we arrived on the island. Then we jumped in a tuk-tuk. He took us as close to our hotel as he could, But to actually get there, we had to clamber down this rocky clay hill. Finally making it, we checked in and dumped our bags. Followed by a rainy walk on the beach and then some dinner.
Starting the day with a yummy breakfast at our hotel, we set off to explore the island despite the rain. Battling through the rain, we spent an hour walking across the island to one of the nearby villages. Where we found a lovely Greek place that does a stunning chicken wrap for only $4. We had a little walk down the main beach of Koh Rong and then headed back to our hotel. Back at our hotel, we explored the beach that's on our doorstep and then called it a night. Today, with the sun shining through the clouds, we just sat back and relaxed. Following a day of relaxing, we had a lovely dinner at our hotel. Today, after breakfast, we explored more of the beach on our doorstep. And in the afternoon, headed back to the pool for a swim in the rain.
Hello, time?
Yeah, that was so fun.
Today, we transfer islands to Koh Rong Samloem. First, a tuk-tuk to the ferry pier. Then a 45-minute speedboat to the neighbouring island. Where we were picked up at the pier and then transferred to our hotel by boat. We then dumped off our bags in our room, checked out the pool and headed on a walk. It's sad to see that a lot of this island has been cleared for developments. It's going to look so different in 10 years' time. Then we made it to Lazy Beach on the other side of the island. Where we sat down and relaxed, but not for long as Em got absolutely drenched by a wave coming in. And then on the way back, got a super muddy foot. Of course, I was sympathetic. About halfway back to the hotel, we got stuck in a storm and got drenched. Then we headed out for dinner at our hotel and it was absolutely delicious.
Today, we headed down the beach to do our laundry and then spent the morning by the pool. After beating Tom at loads of card games, we ordered some lunch and we had a little furry friend. In the afternoon, the rain finally stopped, so we headed to a nearby waterfall. Then we went for a nice long walk along the beach. And by the time we got back, we were starving, so we had this delicious dinner. And the day ended with me beating Tom at Monopoly again. Today, we say goodbye to Cambodia and hello to Vietnam. First, a small boat to the pier. Then, an hour speedboat to the mainland. Making it over safely, we hopped in a minivan to Phnom Penh. Four hours later, we arrived and then hopped on a 10-hour bus to the Vietnam border. Making it through the border, we entered Vietnam, excited for the next few months.